guys have any discrimination on the road or anything?
I have never personally consciously recognized discrimination. I don't know if that, I don't look for it, so if it happens, I may not see it. We were raised by my parents and by Sarah's parents not to look at color, and not to let color define how we react or how we act towards other people, just to take them for people, and that's worked pretty well. You know, I've seen it in other ways with other people. I don't know. If it's happened, I don't recognize it right away, and I just kind of keep moving forward. I truly believe that you know, you can work through some of these things and have minds changed. I've been in situations where friends of mine have had their minds changed about other people groups because they've gotten to know people groups. I had a friend in college tell me I was the first black person he'd ever met, and because of that, it had totally changed the perception of black people. And then my high school coach in Seattle, my high school basketball coach, sat me down one day and said, if you know, now that he's met me, he would have no problem, you know, allowing a black person into his home and things like that. So, yeah.
Right now, it's just a lot of surprise that there are black people in Iowa. Is the joke that you hear the most, because Nate travels all over the place and he has his Iowa thing, and but it's just changing people's perceptions about Iowa, and that we're here, and that, you know, people always ask, why Iowa? We get that question a lot, and so we're always able to say that Iowa's a wonderful place to be and to raise a family, and we're very thankful for the kind people that are here and the roots that we've developed here.
You keep talking about your daughter. What is your daughter's name?
Good question. She is Sophia Ndjerareou, and she is 3.5.
And what does Ndjerareou mean?
Nice. Ndjerareou was the name that was chosen by Nate's parents in the Gumbai tradition, and it means rejoice in Gumbai. And she was named after Nate's grandmother.
What is your happiest memory?
Sophia being born would probably be one of the highlights. It was I don't know how to explain it. It was very happy. Changes your life, but more than you would know.
When my daughter was born is obviously one of the happiest, and you see your parents smiling in a whole nother way. One of my favorite memories was my first Christmas when I was a kid. I was probably about your age, and I was living in Swaziland, Africa, which is a little country right on the border of South Africa. And I had loved it because there were swimming pools and monkeys, and it was a really exotic experience until Christmas rolled around, and it was my first, since it's in the southern hemisphere, December is summertime, so it's the hottest it's going to be. And you're putting up my American Christmas tree and getting out my American stockings, and I want to wear a sweater, and I want it to feel like Christmas used to, because I started to get really homesick. But it was hot, and so you didn't want to do any of those things. And I remember being really upset and really homesick and really mad. And I remember it was Christmas Eve, and I stomped my foot, and I said one of the first prayers I ever remember saying, and I said, God, if you're there, you should make it feel like home. And about a couple moments later, this huge wind blew through all the open windows, and it started to rain. And we had a metallic tin roof, so it was really loud, so you couldn't hear anything. And the big wind had knocked over a Christmas tree. So the whole family comes running in, and we picked up the Christmas tree, and we picked up all the ornaments, and we all kind of gathered in the back room. And that wind and the rain had cooled everything down, and it got really quiet. And we were all standing there in front of the Christmas tree. And we turned and we looked out into the backyard, and the whole backyard was white and sparkly. Because in about those 10 minutes, it had hailed, and it was ice all in the backyard for about a half an hour, and then it all melted. But that was I got my Christmas, I got my white Christmas, and that was the first time for me in my faith that I realized, God's listening to me. That's one of my favorite memories from life.
Why did you guys choose your jobs?
I didn't really choose my job as much as I stumbled into it. I did it mostly for the money. In all seriousness, I thought I wanted to be an economist, so I was going to school for that, but my dad had made a bargain with me saying, if I put you through college, you have to put your younger sister through college who's coming up behind you. And so I looked for the most practical thing that I could do that would get me a job after college and allow me to pay for that. And so I didn't want to just do computers because I wasn't really into just computers. I wanted to really do something that had to do with business and engaging with people. So I found what they call MIS, which is Management Information Systems, and which is a business degree with IT technology. And so I did that, and yeah, I stumbled into it. I was decent at it. You know, I wasn't the greatest, but I could pass my classes, and I found a job which I liked, and it's a big enough career where you can move in a lot of different areas. So that I really just stumbled across it. I really didn't choose it, pick it out of the hat. So
I discovered in all of my travels, if you've ever been somewhere, that when you're telling a really good story and everybody's eyes are on you, that I loved that feeling. I loved the feeling of storytelling and teaching through storytelling. And when you travel all over the place, you learn all sorts of different things. And I couldn't necessarily take people that I knew with me to Africa, and so that they could experience the sights and the sounds and the smells. But when you tell a good story, that you teach them and you bring some of that experience back and you give that to them. And so I've always loved story, and I loved what's come from that. But by being a writer, I can continue giving those experiences to new people and kind of build a bridge.
Do you guys like to travel?
yeah, it's in our blood. We've been doing it since before I could remember. I was traveling, and so it allows you just to see the world and to connect with other people. It's I admit I do it a little too much right now. It's a lot, but I couldn't imagine a life without some type of travel. Just because, I moved away from Africa when I was 3, moved back when I was 12, spent the next 4 years bouncing around West Africa and Europe, and then came back to the States. I went to 3 different high schools in 3 different countries, so it's kind of in my blood. And then the toughest time for me were the years I spent in Cedar Rapids working where I wasn't traveling. That was very difficult. So we love it, and we're just trying to find the right balance in our lives to continue to make it a part of our lives. So,
where have you guys traveled so far?
as a family or individually?
How about both?
Both. As a family, we, of course, let's see where we went. Since Sophia was born, we've been to Los Angeles together. We've been to Mexico. We spent the summer in San Francisco. We traveled, of course, by road all over the United States. Florida, that's right. I was trying to think if we went to Dallas with Sophia yet, but I don't think we're going to Dallas next week as a family for a wedding. Individually, France, Chad, Burkina Faso, West Africa, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Niger, Western Africa region, and then Canada.
And I've never been to Western Africa. I grew up in Southern Africa and Eastern Africa. And then my first memories were in Monte Carlo, France as a kid. And then I was in Siberia and Russia, and then the Ukraine before I met Nate. But then when we got married, Nate was getting his green card. And when he got his green card a couple years ago, then we celebrated. We went to Paris together.